Hullabaloo and howdy do, musty prawns and Timbuktu. Welcome back to the KHANTEHNT.
That's right, everybody. It's KHANTEHNT. And we're back talking about more ReZero. We knew you hadn't had enough. We got to talk OVAs.
We watched, or at least I watched, the second OVA. The first one sounded boring, but you said you flipped through it, skimmed through it. What did you? What was it? What was going on there?
I'll tell you after you go to subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT and pledge $10 for bonus episodes. KHANTEHNT!
私の姿を見て、あんなに怖がる人がいるのなら、ずっとこうして。
So that's right, there are, in fact, 2 OVAs that exist for ReZero. The first one, Memory Snow. So first of all, the first one we knew we didn't care enough to watch because it's mostly like a slice of life thing. I skimmed through it, I watched a couple scenes, we looked on Wikipedia to see what like the lore relevant things were. Turns out Roswaal fought Puck at one point. Cool, I saw that scene. I mean, I watched that scene and things. Okay, not much happened. Beyond that, it's mostly just like slice of life stuff of like Subaru and the gang have a sculpture, an ice sculpture building competition because Puck's icy mana is overflowing and freezing the whole mansion. So skipping through, I clicked on one thing, saw Ram being funny as she does. Best character, Ram, good job. And I don't know, Subaru being okay.
I don't believe that. Well, that was what made the second OVA, because the first one's obviously not worth talking about.
It's not. It's not.
I enjoyed the second OVA more than any of ReZero.
I think it might be the best part of ReZero, no doubt about it.
And I think the reason for that was clear very quickly, which is that Subaru is not in it.
That made a huge difference that Subaru wasn't here. I mean, we've been talking shit about ReZero for a long time. This was quite good. I really enjoyed much of this.
You know, I think the realization I had when rewatching the first season of ReZero was that I like the lore. I like the world. It's not that it isn't generic, but it's...
Oh, it's generic.
There's a lot of cool ideas, weird magic, mysteries you kind of want to learn about, characters you kind of want to learn about. Subaru is not any of those things. He is meant to be the stand-in for yourself through which you experience the world. But I don't value myself so little as to compare myself to Subaru ever. I value myself little enough to compare myself to Emilia. So this video is fun.
Sure. But that's the great divide, though, because you see people being like, no, the reason I love ReZero is because I identify so much with Subaru and him as like the bottom tier piece of shit who still struggles and makes it anyway, makes me feel like I could do that too. Yeah. And of course, I respect that. That's a nice thing to get out of it, but does it get past how annoying he is a lot of the time?
No.
You tell me.
I relate more to Emilia as a relatively normal and good-natured person with magic who, because they happen to look like the Witch of Envy, is told that they shouldn't exist and need to die for being for the crime of their birth.
Hard agree on that one. Yeah. For you, not for Emilia.
Well, we all need to die. I not only found her finally as like a relatable and interesting character, but we actually do learn like her backstory, which was highly unexpected to me. I don't know if they ever said anything in the show about her basically having like no memories beyond like the last couple months, I guess.
I don't think it's come up.
Like all this time I had just thought she was some kind of princess or something, or like had been, lived in a castle somewhere and was sheltered. But like it was a weird feeling of actually realizing that no, they've really never told us anything about her. Like, we know that she's a candidate for priestess. We know that she has taken on Roswaal's last name and, like, lives with him. But, like, we only really understand why all that shit in this, where it's like, yeah, she was literally, like, woken out of a frozen fucking thing a couple weeks ago, has no idea who she is, and just happens to look like the witch. She's the Witch of Envy. Like,
well, okay,
right?
So let's get right to that. Let's just get that out of the water. So we've been saying in our last episode at the end of season 2, I was being like, okay, we've now seen that Satella looks exactly like her. There's like weird alternate realities, time travel things going on. Well, now in this episode, it's like Emilia was frozen in ice for some undetermined amount of time and has now come out of it. and looks just like the Witch of Envy, was frozen in ice for a long time. Either she just is the Witch of Envy and some convoluted series of events, possibly time travel, got her to this place, or she's just like another also extremely important magical person who happens to look exactly like the witch. Could that be true?
I mean, this show has clones in it.
You're right,
Like,
it does.
It
does.
There's so many things she could be. She's obviously connected to her in some way, but
Yeah.
like, it was the realization that this isn't a person who has been dealing with everything she's dealing with her whole life. She's been dealing with this stuff for like 2 months.
Well,
like,
probably a little longer than that, but...
however long, I mean...
1 year, 2 years,
she
maybe?
She seems like she's the same age-ish as she is in the show in this, like...
But then again, maybe she, like, doesn't age, because she is a magic weirdo.
She's a half-elf, we know that, so...
Yeah, I don't know.
Half-elves have...
She could have been there
longer
100
half-lives.
years, for all we know. I don't know.
Yeah, and that was fascinating, because it was just like, okay, well, now I really feel like... I feel the opposite of how I felt about her before, which is like I don't understand her motivations or like what she's trying to do. Now I feel like I know everything about her because there's not that much to know.
Yeah, let me just get in here and say, why the fuck wasn't this in the show?
I don't know.
Because this is really good. I like
Yeah.
everything I'm seeing here about her backstory, and I actually care about her and like her as a character, and I feel attached. And I'm wondering if this is a consequence of you're the light novel man, you're writing your light novel, and you're filling out details as you go, and Emilia exists in your narrative to function as XYZ, and then a year or two passes, things are doing well, and you're like, okay, time to go write the backstory for Emilia, and I'm going to fill it out. That's probably what happened here. This is a separate book that was adapted.
Yeah, it was adapted from a book that apparently was included with the first volume of the original Blu-rays.
Okay.
So it's like a novel that was already like a tie-in to the show that was then turned into a OVA.
So this was clearly like made to like off the success of the series. They decided like, okay, let's add in this extra story and like flesh out her backstory. And, everything about Emilia, why she's here, what she's doing, all that stuff is good. I suppose it's fair to say that everything to do with Puck's, like, personality and, like, the particular fights that happened, none of that was, like, particularly compelling. It was the Emilia stuff was what carried this, but it carried it pretty hard.
Her outfit also carried it pretty hard. She
Yeah,
had a really
yeah.
cool fucking, tunic, or not tunic,
Some kind of furry dress
cape
or something?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome, and
She looked great. She's looking cuter than ever.
the whole thing looked great. I can't help but think about how I'm pretty sure the same studio who made this show did Goblin Slayer, didn't they?
God, I hope not.
And it's funny how like both were set in like it was both like movies about anime isekai characters in the snow. This was a much better one.
Dude, I mean, the Goblin Slayer movie fucking sucked, and I like Goblin Slayer a lot, so no contest. The ReZero movie, infinitely better than the Goblin Slayer movie.
I love the idea that basically Emilia is I'm guessing it was basically her first encounter with people where she was trying to save this family from this rampaging beast. And in the process of defeating them, Puck does some really scary shit, and it makes the people think, oh, she's the Witch of Envy, we have to get away from her.
Well, hang on. Important distinction there. I'm pretty sure the whole icicle bursting out thing, it was hard to tell. I think that comes directly from Emilia, and that's like her power. But this is contentious.
So
I'm
later
not
on,
sure.
when they fight all the bandits, then like Emilia gets knocked out, and then Puck makes all that stuff disappear.
He makes it disappear, yeah. But he didn't make it appear. I think she did that.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I was kind of under, like, I guess I am not sure yet if it's that she has power she can't control, or if Puck is low-key trying to keep people away from her.
Oh, see, that's a great question, because what an odd coincidence. Emilia, who in the show, up to this point, the only ice powers we've seen have seemed to stem directly from Puck. Emilia also has magic ice powers, and that really seems to be what's implied. I mean, in no uncertain terms, it is implied by Puck that Puck did not turn this land into a giant freezing wasteland. Emilia, or whatever icy origins, did that. So, okay.
Yeah, so we've got this whole frozen village of half-elves, and like, basically...
Hang on, she's the only half-elf. The rest are just normal elves.
Okay, so they're just elves. We got this frozen village of elves, and the sort of implication is that because her first encounter with people went so poorly, she's really afraid to have encounters with people anymore. And so she's instead just like hanging out around frozen people and kind of taking care of their village and like wiping off the statues and like, these people won't say anything mean to me, they're frozen. And like she just takes care of this frozen village and then occasionally goes into like an actual human village and like there's a really adorable scene where she's in bed and she's like, I talked more than normal today. Like,
that's straight out of NHK.
Yeah,
that
exactly. She's living as a hikikomori, basically.
Yeah.
Trying really hard to...
Just like Subaru. They were both neats. They're perfect
Right.
for each other.
Exactly.
Whoa!
No, yeah, it all adds up. Everything about this makes way more sense for, like, Emilia as a character, both as a person and in the story, is just makes way more sense after this OVA.
It's just, I wish that we knew any of this so I could have like cared more about Emilia before while watching the show.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little invested in the lives of these characters.
Well, but the thing is that there was time for like the tone to set in because there wasn't dialogue constantly.
I loved the ambient, dead silent, just walking through the snow. That shit was fucking kino. I loved every single second of Emilia just going about her day in the snow, polishing in silence.
Well, it gives you time to enjoy the good things about this show's visuals, that like the character designs are really good. The action scenes, the choreography is really generic, but it looks good. I liked how snappy the fights were. None of them was like long. It was just Emilia beating the shit out of people, like bam, 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 done, bam, bam, gone.
You pretty much know whoever's stronger immediately, and it's over. Yeah.
It all looks good, and it's not tedious. And you know, it's slow at times, but it's atmospheric, and the locations are interesting. And Emilia's relation, like the fact that she is cleaning up this elf village that is frozen, like I was mesmerized by the fact she's doing it.
I was amazed to see how consistent they were. They didn't fuck up keeping Emilia's personality consistent with like a weird do-gooder, really nice person who goes way out of her way to help people. That's exactly who she was all the time in these episodes, and I really expected them to fuck that up. But they didn't.
No, she's great. Puck being kind of like dubiously moral in his, like he cares about protecting her, not on her terms, you know, and so it's interesting to see like her naivety towards him of just like, oh, Puck is like my dad. He's like this protector. I definitely got this undercurrent of the idea that Puck does not see himself as her dad. Like, I don't know if he has romantic feelings for her or what, but like, he
sees her as her daddy.
yeah. Like, there's this kind of like, she's the one who's like, oh, you're like a dad because you just protect me, and he's kind of like, yeah, sure, you know. Like,
I suppose.
I'm actually like, but in that way, he is actually like a dad because your dad doesn't tell you everything they're doing to take care of you either. So
she's not ready for all that yet.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm sure will come to a head eventually in the story.
It's got to. This is the main, mystery of the series for sure.
So yeah, it's interesting to see like just how much Emilia really doesn't know what's going on in her situation, how like naive she is, and how much she's like. I guess it's just that she's convincing that she knows what she's doing because she's so like, oh yeah, I can do it. Like, don't even worry, don't even trip, I got this. And it's like, Emilia, you have no idea what you're doing. You were born a month ago. Like, you mentally, you know.
The one incongruity on that point is how she really seemed way more capable in this movie than she does in the show a lot of the time. Yeah. I know that the stakes are higher. She's up against like more powerful people, but still, like, why is Subaru the one saving her when we see in this movie she is way more competent and powerful than him?
It's a worthwhile question in every light novel adaptation, you know.
Could it be sexism rearing its head? I think it's just the fact that Subaru is the main character and we want to project onto him. Okay.
I'm sure if it was Emilia was the main character, then she would constantly be showing up Subaru and being like, boys can't do anything.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I'm trying to think if like the biggest problems I have with this OVA were when it actually did have dialogue like between Emilia and the villains. It's a little like circular and basic, you know, the villain, especially when the fire demon is like talking to her, and it's a completely futile conversation.
The arbiter, Melaquera, the fire spirit. Yeah, what a cool guy.
She basically keeps being like, but you know, stuff, and he's like, don't care, we'll kill you. And it's like, at some point, I started to be like, okay, if you don't care, you just want to kill her, just kill her. Why is this conversation still happening?
It was fascinating how the times that this OVA was the worst was the times it was most like normal ReZero. And the more that it just showed her everyday life with, I mean, when it was slowed down, I was able to appreciate like, wow, this show is really attractive looking most of the time. And I love just watching the little animations of Emilia doing whatever and her little smiles and goddamn, just do more of that shit. Shut the fuck up and have less dialogue and let Emilia do stuff and I'll like your fucking characters.
Be more anime. I mean, it is a light
less
novel
light novel,
adaptation,
more
yeah.
anime. Although for Babylon, it's the opposite. Be more novel. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What can I say?
So yeah, overall, this movie, man, I would give this like a 7 out of 10. I actually enjoyed it. I actually cared. I wanted to see more Emilia. I don't like... It doesn't make me excited to go into the second half of season 2.
God, no.
It makes me wish that ReZero was a series of movies about each individual character other than Subaru.
You're absolutely right. I'm dreading the next season coming out. It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be sad. It's like...
I don't know, maybe something cool will happen.
You know what this is like? It's like in Dark Souls 3. You know how when you meet Lap, and you're like, whoa, Lap's a cool bro. He's so nice. He helps me. You do this whole arc with Lap at the end of the world, and then it turns out that Lap removes the curse. He gets his memories back, and he was Patches, that piece of shit all the time.
No.
This movie is like ReZero becoming something I enjoy and love for a little while, but it's gonna become the villain again when the show comes back in fucking January, and I'm dreading that. Because my friend's trapped in there, but I can't get him out anymore. He's gone. He's stuck in all this fucking dialogue. And that's just sad.
Oh man, do you have any more notes on this movie?
I don't know. I guess really I can't describe strongly enough how much my enjoyment plummeted when those conversations just were happening about stuff. It felt like the meaningful, realistic dialogue just got blasted out of here for Le Bandit's revenge story against Emilia, who I really hated how this fucking girl wouldn't let me sell her into sex slavery. That was really fucked up that she did that, man. I gotta get revenge. Have some self-awareness, you bandit motherfucker, piece of shit. No,
It seemed
that's all I
like
got.
the main like moral thrust of the conflict was that like the villain is a obviously terrible person who thinks that she must be even worse because she is the witch.
It's fascinating that like this literal rapist is saying, "You're such a bad person, Emilia. How dare you, motherfucker."
It was pretty ridiculous. But
I guess
still, I mean, I was glad that the conflict ended significantly like before the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it wasn't like the climax sucked, but that is almost always true.
If they had literally cut all the parts about the bandit and just had like one conversation between Puck and Fire Horseman, who had like actual information about who Satella was and who Emilia is, like that would have been good. We just didn't need the fight whatsoever. This is why I skip fights. Shit like this. And how about the actual fight? Once they've made their big emotional contract, they literally just clash and we cut to Puck has won. The show itself skipped the fight. So this is why. Who cares?
Fight was 10 minutes of fire surrounding Emilia.
Well,
she
Emilia,
has an argument with
yeah.
somebody who doesn't want to argue with her. Like,
I guess I am, interested to learn more about what is the witch? Like at this point, okay, you got me. I want to know what the fuck is up with the witch. Explain to me what Emilia's connection is to her. She was trapped in ice. She was unfrozen by Puck. Puck has some relationship with her. He's like one of the 4 great spirits of the world or something. I assume Fire Horse is another one. This lore's kind of cool. Oh, and we saw that like the living black sludge was the poison of the black serpent. Ooh, so we get a little taste of another one of the big divine beasts or whatever they are. So lore, kind of cool. Emilia backstory, great. The seeing how she lived and like having a little ambient, relaxing, enjoyable anime put before us in ReZero's quality was really good. And you know what? Just to say, this reminds me that there were elements of the first OVA that were actually pretty good because they were also, I was relaxed. I wasn't expecting anything. And I was just able to be like, oh yeah, this is kind of funny. I don't mind chilling with some of these characters who I've gotten to know. And when it relaxes and focuses on that, it can be really fun and enjoyable. But when the plot gets going and characters spend 10 minutes going around on one point that we understood in the first 30 seconds, that's when you get frustrated. And unfortunately, the show is buried in a lot of that. So I don't know.
I would give this movie a light to decent 7 out of 10, which is like the best score I'd give any part of ReZero, probably. What do you think?
I think I can muster up like a mid to strong 7. It's almost like a light 8, but I can't do it because of those conversations at the end. I just can't do it. And that's it, everybody.
Holy shit, that's the most positive we'll probably ever be about ReZero, unless another one like this gets made. Or maybe in season 2, second half will pay off. Maybe it'll just be nothing but payoff.
That would be really cool. It can do it. It can do it.
There is so much built up at this point that you literally could have 13 episodes of coming. I'm going to need that.
Yeah. Let's hope that it gets there. But we'll see you on the next episode of KHANTEHNT, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. $10 bonus episodes on the Subscribe Star. Support us and support the show. Bye-bye.